Identical skills, identical education, identical opportunities. Yet one person spends their life grinding against a massive headwind just to survive, while the other seems to glide effortlessly toward every goal. Most of us were raised to believe that raw, painful effort is the only legitimate metric for success. We've been conditioned to think that if we aren't exhausted at the end of the day, we haven't earned our keep. But high-speed movement without direction is just a recipe for burnout. When effort is disconnected from a clear internal strategy, the results inevitably stagnate, regardless of how many hours are logged at the desk. Your dominant underlying thoughts, like a persistent dread of the next bill or a deep-seated imposter syndrome, function as an invisible anchor. These internal narratives create a massive psychological friction that effectively cancels out even the most intense physical effort. When you synchronize your internal expectations with your external ambitions, your brain begins to filter the world differently, spotting specific resources and shortcuts that were previously invisible. We call this state of optimized focus psychological alignment. This concept is found in ancient texts under the term yadbhavam tadbhavati, meaning as you think, so you become. It is a principle that modern high-profile leaders have publicly advocated for as a primary driver of their own career trajectories. Reaching a state of financial flow requires you to stop obsessing over the struggle and start mastering the internal mechanics of your own thoughts. We often fall into the trap of delaying our confidence, telling ourselves we will finally feel secure once the bank account hits a certain number or the debt is gone. Alignment requires the opposite. You must establish a sense of security and value first. This internal shift in posture is what allows you to project the level of authority required to actually secure a raise or a new contract. This applies even to the way you handle daily expenses. Instead of approaching a pile of bills with dread, you have to consciously shift toward the fact that you possess the funds to clear them. Operating from this baseline of gratitude changes your relationship with money. It raises your perceived self-worth, making you less likely to accept low-value work and more likely to demand higher compensation. Constant gratitude acts as a psychological magnet. It effectively rewires your brain's default operating system to look for expansion rather than just survival. To lock this alignment into place, we use a technique called reality simulation. The brain struggles to distinguish between a physical event and a vividly imagined one. Both trigger identical pathways in your neural network. Effective simulation is about rehearsing the present. You don't imagine buying a house someday. You rehearse walking through the front door right now. This is the exact mental rehearsal elite performers use to achieve peak execution. They live the victory in their minds with absolute clarity, priming their subconscious to spot the winning move before they ever step onto the field. But this mental preparation is instantly neutralized by one specific emotion: envy. When you feel jealous of a colleague's success, you are sending a destructive signal to your own subconscious. You are effectively confirming the belief that wealth is a scarce, limited resource that someone else has stolen from you. By celebrating another person's wealth, you remove that internal friction. You acknowledge that money is an infinite resource, which makes it psychologically easier for you to access it yourself. The most common point of failure happens at the very end, when you've done the mental work but failed to trust the process. This panic reflex, the constant checking and worrying about when your results will arrive, actually triggers the very scarcity mindset you were trying to escape. Consider how you order a package online. Once the order is placed, you trust the fulfillment network to do its job. You don't call the warehouse every 10 minutes to make sure the box still exists. Financial alignment works the same way. You set your intention, you maintain your internal state, and then you must detach from the timeline. You allow the system to work without your interference. This detachment transforms your perspective. Money begins to function as a feedback loop that simply mirrors your level of preparation and certainty, rather than a trophy you have to aggressively hunt. Once you replace that internal fear with absolute certainty, the external world begins to align with your financial goals automatically.